By the beard of my father, this is not a bad game. The Rishi Padarim qasam ki khayli khub game. Chapter 24. In the morning, Saeed told Khoja Nasreddin over the tea that Agabak had not had a keeper for his lake for a number of years and issued the water for the fields himself. At first he kept in his service the kind old man who had managed the lake before on behalf of Namangan master. In Namangan master onomuya kida request kada ki ban zipna kada zibudna بس منا فرق خزي كار مكذا لخوي ذا بيش تورا خونا يدينج كار مكذا وفتاك هو بود خيرتي بود مطلب يرم قفت بور كذا بس. The old man gave someone water free of charge. Agabak got to know of it and dismissed him. That kind old man had not been heard of since in these parts. He must be in his grave by now. Peace to his ashes. And may the Almighty give him repose in the abode of the blessed. He is alive, said Khoja Nasreddin, as fully alive as you and I. He has now become a wonder worker, and performs all kinds of minor miracles for nothing better to do. But wherefore did not Agabak appoint another keeper in his place? He does not trust the local people, and strangers here are scarce. Does he frequent this chaykhana? He will come for certain at noon. Just the time to drink tea and play chess with my foster father. Safar. He is a great lover of chess, but apart from my father, he has none other to play with in our village. There is one now. Do you play chess? I do not. I do. And other amusing games as well, such as the spider and hornet. I never heard of it. Spider and hornet, Zamburu, chiza?
Boy.
Nanamu
Julgak.
I never heard of it. You shall hear of it and see it. The heat of day was advancing. The sun's beam fell from the blazing sky with stabbing directness. Work in the fields, at the potters' ovens, or in the smoky forges was not to be thought of. The villagers, both farmers and artisans, flocked to the chaykhana from all sides. They entered, saluted Safar, the host, then greeted Khoja Nasreddin. On you be peace, honest toilers. Zahmat Kasha, Salaam alaikum. Khoja Nasreddin returned their salutations. And may Allah bless your well-earned rest. To this he added a word for each individually. To the farmer, bare kisan, wishes for a good harvest. To the potter, fine and even baking. To the miller, a milder milling. To the shepherd, the chopo, an abundant increase in his flocks. He could tell at a single glance at hands. Sunburned faces, and stained robes, whether the man had come from the field, ای از کارخانه کوزه‌گری مایه from the forge or from the tanner's trough یا از وکچرم جورنه از قیافهش معلوم بود. Saeed went out to attend to his business. Saeed رفت پشت کار خود. The visitors were served by Safar and dried up little old men. خشک مرتکه. Very poorly dressed. کالای دندگرد جانجی. For the profits from this chaykhana never exceeded 2 or rare occasions 3 tangas a day. Maximum ki kamai maga 2 tanga 3 tanga. Azu chiz chakshna khudzu. From time to time the old man glanced at Saeed's empty place by the fire pots, and his wizened face would become clouded. He knew of his adopted son's love and grieved for him. Yakho فقیرم هست باز زمیتر دم جایی که سعید پیش از آتش میشنم و جایش سیل منا خبر داره که او عاشقی زلفیه و دلش خیلی خرابه هیچ کارم نمیتونه. Safar handed Khoja Nasreddin the teapot, china gramedia, and said gently, گفت wherefore, O traveler, do you raise in my Saeed false hopes? تو چرا امیدای فالتو دو گوشت بفکده یا؟ Better you had shown him a way by which he could tear love out of his young heart. از او دیگر راه نشان میدادی که می love ما پرمشت مکت مرا پشت کار خوبی. تو رو امید دادی که ما این تر مکنم می چی حالا؟ Why tear it out? چرا love را و محبت چرا دل زو حرکت پرتکنی؟ Khoja Nasreddin said in a surprise, let it grow. بل کشتنا and bear fruits. میوه بیدیا. But if those fruits are bitter اگر تلخ بود باز and fraught with grievous woes وقدر مصیبت قچقاتی بایا, it's a poor gardener, old man, who cannot do better. بانابازی نمیچله. تو اگر باغ تو سینی تو باید بفهمی که باغبان بخالی محل سینیه که باغ دیدرون چیز نمیدیه. Safar was about to make some rejoinder when he suddenly jumped up and began to dart hither and thither. Now seizing a bosom, now a towel, now the chessboard. The visitors rose and took their departure, glancing down the road. Khoja Nasreddin glanced down the road too, and his heart caught fire within him. Advancing towards the Chaykhana, preceded by his belly, came Agabek. Agabek. Safar hustled at last dilatory visitor out through the back door and removed Khoja Nasreddin's teapot to a far corner of the room. He was a traveler and had nowhere else to go. Tamam rakiborna bazi China mayna Nasreddinam de kunjak mela. Agabek entered the Ramat and immediately filled the whole Chaykhana with his hulk. He entered like a lord and master, Mr. Nawab Ali Daramat, barely acknowledging Safar's obsequious salam. Salam alaikum sahib. And not deigning even to notice the presence of Khoja Nasreddin. Agabek's mane and bearing, his somber, dull little eyes set deep under a low, fleshy forehead and reflecting the working of a dark, evil soul, the thick black beard, the signet ring on his finger, all this suggested to Khoja Nasreddin the conclusion. This man held some office of authority in the past. Not of the highest, but not of the lowest either. He had his seal. Hence he was either a magistrate or a revenue officer. Ya tax officer buda ya judge maj buda. He lives in seclusion, tana zindagi na, and cannot resume his official duties. Halanki metana ki tamzo office bashi lekin niya the duty, chara niya the duty. Obviously guilty of some sin. Ego gunah kadai kirbur kada. And no little one at that. He lacks here the homage and servility of those beneath him, and there is none above him before whom he himself could cringe with reverential awe. This is his greatest sorrow, the hidden canker one worn of care. Amnuzu kar ho ki taina sahib baga balna was u bal sahib baga. Onozu moody broya. Ki structure shi bakhat bige blame zikar joshda. It was a good thing that Agabak was of the office holding class. Khoja Nasreddin had no fears now for his conscience. Guft kho ego officer bade zamane kho khaya bekhi saya. It would not come between his sword and the head of the offender, as had often been the case with him when his adversaries had been merchants. گفت ای خو که بگه چیز افسر بوده بایر تو یک که ما گردن ازیر دیم چون که اگر از پیش کی گردن ار زده اونا نرمالی یا خو یکو تاجیر بوده. Leonid leeches روباهایی که خود عالم گفته بوده astrologers or seers. Not infrequently he had been able to discern in them some estimate quality of mind and heart, including even kindness and the rudiment of conscience. Magar baaz mane suna ego na ego chote zamir ya aql ya famidgi dida buda. At which his sword raised for a death stroke had banked and confined itself to a shave of such a degree of closeness as befitted the occasion. As for the man in office, he was implacable towards them. Agabak had meanwhile seated himself, and leaning back against the cushions, had permitted his glance to glide over Khoja Nasreddin as if he were a mere fly.
ये कदर खुद बाल गिरते थे कस्ता नजर शेद में माया
सर दिया ना पुराना अक्सर को देखो बखाल मेरा निकाला कहता है मुझे क्यों निकाला. Then puffing and grunting he poured himself out some tea.
हम अफसर तबखा मर्दुम हम की सलाम कन यमूर मलाइक नना
खुद से. Safar brought a chessboard and seated himself opposite Mahamakshist and began to play. Khoja Nasreddin had a clear view of the board from where he sat and was able to follow the game in all its details. Ali Safar Qazu Tana Jordan Mwiri Gabazina Kachi. Yala Magama Pura game Bazin Tamashana. The nature of the two players was reflected upon the board as if in a clearer mirror. Amo character ardu bazigar misli aina lively board malam. Safar played in a humble and timid fashion.
defensive.
Touching one piece, then another, picking up uncertainly. Pondering, putting it back in its place, then suddenly, like a man taking a plunge into a cold water over a precipice, making an incomprehensible move to his own detriment. More than anything else did he fear losing a pawn or some other figure and evading battle. He scuttled, panic-stricken, over the board like a mouse discovering in a corn bin. And naturally, he lost all the time. Agabak, on the contrary, was forever pouncing. Like a greedy pike he pounced upon everything that came his way, pawns, bishops, knights, and castles. Tamam rakhol. So fierce and excessive was his pouncing, atakash khatarnak bud, zeal that he twice overlooked a sure checkmate. يقدر جلدي جلدي زداري بود كي دو دفعة checkmate لا ميس كديكا. كمية الناس تمون checkmate كان سفر لكن بعضهم بازير جاري يشتكي ما بيزن بخرم. Safar was playing white. Within half an hour, he was left within one solitary pawn and three figures: the king, queen, and a knight, scattered all over the board and pawnless to come to each other's aid. All the others had been pounced on and seized by Agabag, who had surrendered only one pawn to the old man. The White King ousted from his corner. The White King ousted from his corner was besieged on all sides by the forces of the enemy, who was preparing to deliver the finishing stroke. Al-tamam jamma sipah girdi bacha badshah da kunjan girifta da. Give in. Man ko diga na, old man, give in. Surrender ko. Qabul ki bhai de na la checkmate diga. Shouted Agabag, his great belly shaking with laughter and short-windedness. Look what you have left. I have captured all your troops and have lost only one pawn. Make your move. Play your knight. Play your queen. It matters not. Nothing can save you. Your king is in the clutches of my queen. Oh, she will hug him to death. His naked, malicious glee stung Safar. As was evident from the angry gleam in his watery eyes. Resentfully, with lips pressed hard together, he still tried to put up a resistance. He picked up his pawn to remove it forward, held it over the board a while, then placed it, touched the knight, touched his queen, and then his king, but made no move.
هذه هو سيبايو تنمي تنانا إذا خليه رفتها مثل بال كذا سدا تواجد
قارق نشان ذاك ما يلاقي دنينين قدم زي آخرين ترميزهم. Why do you not play? Move كنا شور بخار. Shouted Agabag, by the beard of my father, this is not a bad game. The rishi padarim qasam ki khayli khub game. Forsooth it's not. One could wager 2 tangas to 1. Moga awsila. Moga chandan game kharabam niya. Moga yak tanga barabari 2 tanga lagit. This announcement came from Khoja Nasreddin.
Interesting.
Moga forsooth, it's not a bad game. One could wager 2 tangas to 1. This announcement came from Khoja Nasreddin out of the dark corner. 2 to 1? Exclaimed Agabag. Why? Any person who understands aught of chess would boldly wage 5 to 1. This situation is It's a pity we are not playing for money, old man, he said to Safar. You would be stripped naked today, lose your chaykhana and the very robe off your back. I am nothing loath to finish this game for money. Khoja Nasreddin said, coming forth from his corner and standing boldly confronting the players. I would stake 200 tangas, all that I have. Mag mine nana, I'm yalam mizdam paisara. Bulna 200 tanga mga tamam shi, lagid. Agabek threw back his heavy head and eyed him loftily. It seems you're seeking simpletons upon the road. My man, I would stake 500 myself. On the black, without getting up from where I sit. If I could find one foolish enough to stake 100 on the white. Yago devnar bayru sadaga beli white zat ma pansad mizdam. Such a fool is here. Onumu devna en minji atai. Kucha mori. I stake 200 tangas on the white. Your word now. In al-bugi. Ana ma dusad mizdam. Sad me khay. The white? What did he reckon on? What did he hope for? Surely he did not think to win in the face of such crushing odds. No, it was not of winning that he thought. On the contrary, he considered his 200 tangas as good as lost. It was not money that he was out to win, but a chance to improve his acquaintance with Agabak. He was sacrificing his purse to all-powerful Qismat. May she mercifully bestow her favor upon him in this adventure. You stake on the white? Said Agabek, wondering. Safar, whence comes this stranger? Happily he is mad or has smoked himself stupid with hashish in your chaykhana. Waste not time with mere words. Time zaya naku. Daro waqt zaya ka tariqa said Khoja Nasreddin, emptying his purse on the tray. If you are not afraid, sir, then lay your wager. Zayat the gabatir na di yana dusa changa binda space. Me afraid? Said Agabek, drawing forth from his girdle a fat, weighty purse of yellow leather and tossing it upon the tray. There is 750 here. Henceforth, curb your tongue, and do not speak nonsense. You who dare to presume that I fear you? Oh, insignificant one! The game begins, announced Khoja Nasreddin. Safar moved aside to make room for him. He looked at Khoja Nasreddin with perplexity. And compassion, wondering if indeed this strange visitor had not taken leave of his senses. Then suddenly he bethought himself that the visitor had not paid for his night's lodging and his tea. and for fodder eaten by his ass. Overcome by these petty fears, he forgot all about the game. What was this game and the heap of silver on the tray to him compared to the danger of losing his 6 tangas? او دغه مزینیه که اینجا افتنیم ست تانگا داره و بازیش داره او دی فکر که میشه تانگا از مازیز مناره Stranger, what will you pay me with? He asked. روپی از ما کجا میشه؟ Khoja Nasreddin looked at the old man with scorn. How hateful to him was this petty fear of a man for his paltry little purse. Even though the world around him were perishing, on this occasion, however, he was wrong to blame the old man. For 6 tangas would keep him in food and drink for 3 days. Khoja Nasreddin apprehended this in good time and left ashamed of himself and felt ashamed of himself. Don't worry, old man. If I lose, I shall give you my boots. Nay, interposed Agabak, he desired to show off his magnanimity. You shall be paid by me, Safar. He picked up from the tray a coin of the value of 10 tangas and handed it to the keeper of the chaikhana. And a da tanga. All of a sudden, Khoja Nasreddin caught his breath and paled. A fire was kindled in his vitals. Happily, it was a fit of anger. Nay, it was something quite different. On the board before him, he beheld the dazzling smile of fortune. The belief board. Nay, it was something quite different. On the board before him, he beheld the dazzling smile of fortune, as though appreciating the sacrifice he was about to make. Fate was munificently returning him his 200 tangas together with a princely gift from herself. That which he beheld upon the chessboard was victory for the white. چیز دید بلیزو بورد که وایت برده میتونم یعنی چانس دید تمزیکر نشان وایت برده میتونم his own victory عادی که برده از خود چیز تالیلی At first he would not believe his eyes. Then he judged the position once more. اول باور نکرد درست که نیمی ایدیا گیرمم ده was checked. There was no room for doubt. Beshakki victory. You are too hasty, worthy sir. He said to Agabak, it becomes not a Muslim to display generosity at someone else's expense. Sahib sharminda manen diga bare musulmani jai sharm asta ki mai kar munum sumo madin matlab nakine me kara. He could not have said anything more insulting. Adigi at someone else's expense, the bilikas diga yanichi. Agabak croaked, his face livid. Very well, I shall teach you respect. Vagabond, you are a gart maturinala adab nuho. Put the coin back on the tray. Belinchi passage. Safar, put it back. Put the coin back and take his boots as a pledge. Bubar on botar bubar. Bel paisa the jesh. Let him quit our village barefoot. Belki paylut burşunazinci. Your move. Şor bukarnayn ali. Do you hear? Mishnemi daruchimakom. A beast of ragamuffins. To think that I had a mind to give you 20 tangas out of my winnings to spend your own way. Ma khodi fikr budum ki tu bezem baydani ek 20 tanga ma de khayal bud ki turam bidum. Now, after your brazen impudence, I shall give you nothing. I am not asking for anything. Play! But first, take off your boots and give them to the Chaykhana keeper. Khoja Nasreddin took off his boots and handed them to Safar. Then boldly moved his queen down the whole board to the opposite corner. Queen Rakesh ka doon is good. Check to the Black King.
The egg move check.
Bad. All merciful Allah, Agabak sneered with mock terror. Verily, I thought my heart would burst from fear. What a blow! But you must have gone blind, my man. Course de Bakhalim. See you not that my castle stands guard here? Where is your queen now? And so saying, he captured the white queen with his castle and removed her from the board. And what will you do now? He said to Khoja Nasreddin, you impudent ragamuffin who has lost both his money and his boots. Loser, by losing your queen, you have postponed your inevitable defeat by one more move. He was answered by a single brief word. Jawab Shirdat. Mate! Said Khoja Nasreddin, moving his knight from the black square to the white. Agabak stared dully at the board. As the truth slowly dawned upon him, his fleshy face grew a deeper and deeper shade of blue. The game is over, said Khoja Nasreddin. My winnings, please. Safar moved the tray up to him with a shaky hand. His staring eyes filled with anguish and dread. He watched Khoja Nasreddin pour the money into his own purse and put on the boots, which he had taken off only a minute before. The old man was speechless with terror. Safar began shocked. Although he had only been a witness throughout. So timorous was the soul he bore within him that he was always afraid of everything, constantly expecting misfortune himself from every new person that he met and from every event that happened in his proximity. Hazar chi tashwish daro. Ego no adam ke adamu tashwish. Agar ego no kar adamu tashwish na. Khod qara mitar khud nim ka lagda na. What will be, alas, what will be? He said to himself, his heart heavy with premonitions of great storms to come. He feared that the full force of Agabek's fury would now descend upon his head and blast his prosperity. While prosperity, for which he trembled so abjectly, consisted of his chaykhana, a flimsy affair built of clay, as giljoshda and rushes, which to the most large-hearted buyer was not worth more than total the chan 200 tangas. Safar had nothing else. Neither a house, nor a garden, nor a field. Yet he trembled as one who had gold in bullion hidden away in his cellars. He possessed that other priceless treasure of the poor man. Who possessed a priceless treasure, freedom. freedom but was incapable of enjoying it. Freedom خود داره مگر وید نمفهمش کار کن خزی freedom. He held himself in leash, fettered the wings of his own soul. لذي خاطر هم روح به قب كده هم گزاره كده رأيه بديگه. He took from poverty its carnal portion. هم چیزی که directly قد ذات تعلق داره اون امور گرفته بود deprivation یعنی محرومیت. And from wealth its spiritual portion. و از دولت که استه بود هم روحانی کیفیت چیز گرفته بود. از مال دنیا و خاصیتی گرفته بود او بود زهد. مجھے نہیں چاہیے میں زاہد ہوں جی میں نہیں چاہیے no thank you بہت شکریہ بڑی مہربانی نہیں از دنیا و انیر گرفته بود و از دولت روحانی پورشن چی گرفته بود perpetual fear که روح تو همیشه در عذابه که تو دولت تا چک بڑا شده رفت روح تو اون مخت عذابه. In either case he had chosen for himself the worst. در دو سیچویشن بدترین انتخاب کرد. یک deprivation محرومیت گرفته دو لیول بردد که بخی خوش شد. اور اینجی fear گرفته بود که روح شمس درون بند پرایش خواهد. Agabek said not a word. He stared at the board pop-eyed. انت بور شده بیتی چمایش کی چرخم بازی شد. The livid blue of his face had turned to black. My host, is there a leech in this village? Amo leech چیز مگه؟
اون پیدا نتونستیم
نه لیچ
amo کی
شلوگی خونکش
شلوگی خونکش
دو د اردو
ما دیگه میزریشم دیگه ماما That off the record, huh? Okay.
خوب سے پیدا کردی.
My host, is there a leech in this village? Khoja Nasreddin asked the old man. Happily, he should be given a bloodletting to prevent an apoplectic stroke. مگر باید یه گوزنه شلوگی خونکش بریم که اینی نزوف نکنم اینجی.
اضافی خونچ بور کنم بیاد.
نه اضافی سیاش دادی گرد خون سیاش دادی گرد بور کنم.
جمع شده.
No leech, however, was needed, for the danger had passed. خطر تیر شد. Agabek drew a deep, sudden, shuddering breath. همین لیچ کشنید خونکش را نفش ده جای آمد. His burning nape began to cool and the ominous blue-black hue of his countenance faded away. Kam sari hal amad, nafas girift. Strange that I saw it not. Iran kadi martu maaj tori nadidum.
او دست بس که ده چیزا انتر بخار دازو مصروف بوده یت نفهمیده در چک زیاد مصروف بودی دیفنس تو از گیر تو ممنه
Exactly.
یک سنگل موف او گار نتور فرانس و کرویشیا هم نشت.
Strange that I saw it not. Verily, traveler, oh Musafir, you have cast a spellbinding mist in my eyes. Tu chimbandik di bakhir. Let us play another game. May the most foul-smelling of devils devour me if I ever sit down again to that board with you. Mara amzu gandatrin balam ki mar bukhra azu kada betara ki bumar bukhra ki mar qasdi diga bish number le. Betake yourself quickly, gumshu zinji. Be satisfied with the 750 tangas that you have eased me off. بردم زو خوش باش کاش بیدیم ما بازی ننم دیگه قصدو. But Khoja Nasreddin had no intention of quitting the village so soon. Banishment again, eternal exile. Baz gufte exile shuru shud. He cried in a voice of sorrow, hanging his head down. Betake yourself, you say? Gum kunam rang khura. Better had you said, flee. Farar ko, escape. Oh, cruel fate. Oh, taqdeer. Oh, wind of evil dispensations. The arrow of his plaint hit the mark. Does anyone pursue you then? Oh, the Ferrari. Because especially like that. Agabak said, pricking up his ears. Affections, troubles, failures, such are my dogged, unflagging pursuers. Badbakhti, musibat, nakami, if your failures always resemble those you have visited that have visited you today, you are to be envied. अगर मतलब भाई दो इस तुमी तरवाला बादशाह को बस तब मुबाइद हसद करने की तू चिरकम भाई मिली भाई कि तब भाई देख तू मुबरी दरो. That is a mere accident. One of 100 opposites. ये भाई बख्त यारी के तबावर को मगर ना माय भाई इतनी बड़ी
बस एक दिनेश यारी का.
And whither are you bound? कुदा कुजा रही तू? I know not. चिखबरम. I go whither my eyes lead me. I care not whether it be south or north, east or west. But you must have some purpose for undertaking this journey. ये सफर खुद ये को मकसद खुद रहे कि हम देंगे. You are not a rich man. पैसेदारम पुन्नी or a lord, a nawab khan amni to ride about for his own pleasure. कि बड़ी चकर बुर्श दबाशी. In this wise, they dropped into their first conversation. The first move in the great game of spider and hornet. Jangi Azimi Julgagwa Zami.